October 12th, 1492, a date that stands out in the bold strokes of history. A day when the unknown became known, when old worlds encountered new. Today, on a day like this, Christopher Columbus set foot on the Bahamas, believing he had found the route to India. Let's jump in our time machine, ready to explore and reminisce about this monumental day in history. A day that forever linked the vast distances across our blue planet. The day that sparked waves of exploration, curiosity, and conquest. Can you imagine the thrill coursing through those sailors' veins when they first sighted land after months of uncertain voyaging? The intense excitement, perhaps tinged with a dash of fear for what might be waiting in this new world. Sit tight as we sail back in time, just like Columbus and his crew did on this day in 1492. So let's set the scene. The year is 1492, a time when maps had voids marked with "Here be dragons," and the horizon held mysteries enough to both entice explorers and terrify them. But our protagonist, an Italian explorer sailing under the Spanish flag, Christopher Columbus, was undeterred by these uncertainties. Rather, he was propelled by them. His belief? That by sailing west, he could open up a direct trading route to Asia. But oh boy, was he in for a surprise? Picture this. Europe in the 15th century was afloat with stories of the immense riches of the East. Spices, precious metals, luxurious silk, the lot. But there was just one tiny problem. The existing routes to Asia were long and fraught with danger, pirates being among the least confronting. The land route, the famous Silk Road, was not only arduous, but was also subject to heavy taxation and political turmoil. And so emerged the desire for a faster and safer route directly to Asia's coveted treasures. Let's be honest, who wouldn't jump at the chance for more profits with less risks? But there was no existing map or compass that could guide explorers on such a journey. The task of discovering this path fell onto Columbus's shoulders. Now, Columbus wasn't your average dude. From a young age, he showed an aptitude for the sea and all things nautical. Born in Genoa, Italy in 1451, Columbus was the son of a wool merchant. But young Christopher had little interest in wool trading. Instead, he found his calling out at sea. After moving to Portugal, Columbus married Dona Filipa Perestrello. Her late father had been a sailor, and Columbus gained access to his father-in-law's nautical charts and books. This fueled his aspiration even further. Imagine nights spent poring over maps by candlelight, days spent calculating and postulating the mysteries of the world. Such was life for Columbus. He was becoming increasingly sure that the riches of the Far East could be reached faster by sailing directly west. But along with brilliant ideas also comes the challenging step of convincing others about its merits. Struggling to sell his idea, Columbus got rejection after rejection from potential backers. But Columbus, in all his determination, didn't lose hope. Columbus eventually managed to convince the Catholic monarchs of Spain, King Ferdinand II, and Queen Isabella I. Perhaps it was Columbus's persistent confidence that convinced them, or maybe they wanted to join the race for colonization. Whatever their reasons were, they agreed to fund Columbus's journey in 1492. 3 ships, crew included. So, on board were the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina, packed with hopeful men dreaming of riches and new horizons. Little did they know, but they'd begun a pivotal chapter in human history. So there they were, Columbus and his men, geared up and ready to embrace the unknowable. Filled with a mix of trepidation and anticipation, they set sail from Spain on August 3, 1492. The ship sailed from Palos de la Frontera, a small, sleepy town in Andalusia, Spain, finding their way across the Big Blue towards the inviting horizon of the west. The fleet first sailed to the Canary Islands, where they restocked provisions and made vital ship repairs. It was here that they faced their first obstacle. The Pinta's rudder failed, causing a delay of over a month, but this little setback did not deter Columbus and his crew. They used this extra time to stock up on fresh water, food, and repair their vessels. And then, prepared for every eventuality, they cast off into the open sea. These sailors were stepping into uncharted waters, literally, sailing past where their maps ended, steering their vessels where no European had ever ventured. Imagine being in their shoes. Well, boots. The endless sea stretching in all directions, with no land in sight for days. They must have battled seasickness, homesickness, not to mention the dread of the unknown. Columbus maintained a logbook where he noted course changes, distances covered, and even celestial observations. But noticeably absent were accurate entries of the distances traveled. A shrewd tactic, really. By underreporting the true distance each day, he managed to keep potential mutiny at bay. Now remember, these were not easy times. After drifting on for more than a month from the Canaries, dire thoughts began to circulate. Whispers of defection grew into loud murmurings of mutiny. But Columbus managed to quell these rebellious talks, convincing them to sail on just a little longer. And then, after 33 days of open sea sailing, At around 2 a.m. on October 12th, the lookout on the Pinta, Rodrigo de Triana, cried out, "Tierra! Tierra!" There it was, a small island rising from the midst of the vast Atlantic. As dawn approached, they saw before them a lush, beautiful island with a vibrant landscape filled with strange plants and trees. They had arrived. Columbus and his crew had made it across the Atlantic Ocean. You can almost picture Columbus stepping ashore in his rich royal blue cloak, planting the flag of Ferdinand and Isabella solidly into the unknown soil. As Columbus set foot on the new land, he named it San Salvador, meaning Holy Savior. Little did they know that this strange, exotic land was not Asia, but rather one of the many small islands in the Bahamas, a whole new world previously unknown to them. While they didn't find the luxurious riches of India and China, they found fascinating new fruits and strange tobacco and curious men who wore little clothing, exciting novelties that convinced them that yes, indeed, they'd reached Asia. So, October 12th, 1492, on this very day, exactly 529 years ago, Christopher Columbus, an audacious Italian under the Spanish banner, stepped onto land believing he'd found a new trade route to Asia. Unknowingly, he had accomplished something different but equally groundbreaking. He had discovered the Americas. The immediate effect of Columbus's voyage was a sense of overwhelming triumph for Spain. Returning to a hero's welcome in 1493, Columbus received lavish praise from King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, sealing their remarkable voyage forever in fame. But Columbus's discovery was bigger than his initial expectations. It wasn't merely about opening up a new trade route to Asia, but it had unlocked an entire new world that led to possibilities and sourced wealth, recasting Spain into becoming Europe's superpower. When the news of the Newfoundland spread across Europe, it ignited a fervor of exploration and search for wealth among European monarchies. The race was on. The grand age of exploration had begun. However, with exploration came conquest and colonization. Soon native populations were being enslaved for labor. Missionaries were herding indigenous people to baptism water font in droves, and pandemics from introduced diseases decimated native numbers in epidemic proportions. Columbus's voyages also set a model for future explorers who braved uncharted oceans for God, gold, and glory. This largely led to European powers fighting over new territories, resulting in subsequent wars of colonization. As we can see, the impact didn't just stop at the colonial period. The implications of Columbus's voyage extend even unto today's world, where we still grapple with the complexities left behind by the European conquest. The monumental change brought forth by Columbus's discovery wasn't solely dark either. The encounter between the Old World, Europe, and the New World, the Americas, brought forth an epoch called the Columbian Exchange, a massive transfer of plants, animals, humans, and diseases between continents. Among the substantial transfers were tomatoes, maize, and potatoes from the New World, significantly impacting European diets. The exposure to different cultures also led to an intellectual awakening, showcasing different ways to live and understand the world. This was reflected in the humanist philosophy, and later massively fueled the Enlightenment movement. Plus, Columbus's accidental discovery also participated in forming a globe that is more interconnected than ever. The unity of the world as one, the concept of a global village, can all trace their roots back to this initial exchange triggered by Columbus's voyage. In a nutshell, looking at Columbus's voyage on this day in 1492, it's crystal clear that this moment sparked a domino effect of events which have shaped and continue to shape our world today. From setting forth huge socio-cultural shifts to geopolitical turns transforming everything in their wake, his voyage steered the course of global history dynamically, making it indeed one of the historical events marked with robust importance. Columbus didn't just cross the Atlantic on October 12, 1492. He bridged gaps in human exploration, opened the world to new possibilities, fueled significant progress, but additionally, left behind a complicated legacy that we grapple with even till date. You see, history is not just a record of what happened, it's a multi-layered story, shaped by those who tell it and remembered by those who learn from it. Columbus's voyage elucidates this wonderfully. From one perspective, he's an ambitious explorer who dared to venture where none had dared before. From another perspective, he's a herald of conquest and the decimation of indigenous populations. And the truth is, both narratives coexist. This paradox reminds us that history is not merely black and white. There are hues of grays and interplaying shadows revealed through different perspectives. It pushes us to understand the larger picture, to traverse beyond what's usually shown, to delve deeper into the yesteryears as we have done today. It's crucial to remember these nuances as we review historical events. To see how far we've come as a civilization, we also must recognize the mistakes we've made and continue learning from them. Now it's over to you. How do you perceive Columbus's voyage? Do you see him as an audacious explorer who paved the way for a globalized world? Or do you recognize him as an embodiment of European conquests, triggering the dark side of colonialism? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if there are any other events that you'd like me to dive into, let me know. Don't forget to like this video if it added to your knowledge today. Share it with other history buffs in your circle, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and remember to turn on notifications so you never miss any of our historical adventures. Remember, in every day lies a fragment of history waiting to be explored. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for another event that took place on a day like this.